Hello everyone, welcome to Aspire High channel, an education content channel primarily intended for management studies. We have been discussing human resource management subject in our series of videos, which is a core subject paper in semester 1 of MBA program of IGNOU in the distance mode. In the previous 4 videos, we have discussed the important questions from the coming term and examination December 2024. Block wise, block 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Now coming to block 2, unit 4, human resource planning, we will discuss the important questions and with how to effectively write answers. So we will discuss the subject involved based on the important questions that are highlighted in our earlier videos. Coming to this unit 4, human resource planning, the important questions for the coming term and examination December 2024 identified in our earlier video sessions were: what is HRP, objectives of HRP, process of HRP, problems in HRP process, sources of manpower. Sources of manpower was identified as a short notes question earlier, and the process of HRP is always asked along with illustration. That means you are supposed to describe the process with an illustration, and 20 marks question is generally process of HRP. If at all a question is asked from unit 4 human resource planning, it is process of HRP coupled with what is HRP, objectives of HRP, problems in HRP process, like that. So accordingly we will discuss the subject. Unit 4, human resource planning. All the topics in this unit are very easy to understand, no complexity involved. So let us start with what is HRP. HRP is defined as strategy for acquisition, utilization, development and retention of the human resources of an enterprise. In the examination for the 20 marks question, normally process of HRP is going to be asked. Whether it is specifically asked or not, you have to start with the definition of HRP. Start the answer with definition of HRP. That is, HRP is defined as strategy for acquisition, utilization, development and retention of the human resources of an enterprise. Acquisition means recruiting the people, utilizing them for the growth and development of the organization. Development of the human resource, the word here development stands for development of human resource, that is for the future requirements of the organization as and when the technologies go on changing and complexity of the work also go on changing, then the development of the human resource, the development of the manpower is very much important. And retention, that is retention means avoiding attrition and retention of the human resources of an enterprise. This is the definition. So in addition to this definition, I always suggest that you should always write 1 or 2 lines. So what is HRP? HRP focuses on, if it is specifically asked what is HRP, we have to anyhow write. Even if it is not asked also, better we start the writing the answer with the definition and also 1 or 2 lines on HRP, then going into the process of HRP. That is suggested for the 20 marks question. So what are the other points? Actually, whatever we are going to now discuss is going to be one and the same. That is, we are only expanding the content that is available in the definition. HRP focuses on ensuring adequate supply of human resource, quality of human resources and effective utilization of human resources. Adequate supply of human resource means, the meaning is that suppose if 10 people are required, definitely from April onwards, we have to adequately take them by the month of April itself, the 10 people in a particular role. So quality of human resource means they should be able to deliver the output as desired by the objectives of the organization. And effective utilization of human resources. Effective utilization means productivity should be, the minimum productivity is maintained. It is concerned with forecasting and projecting the requirement of human resource in the organization. So what is HRP? It is concerned with forecasting how many people are required in a particular role and projecting the requirement of human resource in the organization. Say way forward for 3 years also, based on the business projections for the coming 3 years, we should be in a position to identify the staff strength that is required, forecasting and projecting the requirement of HR in the organization. And at the same time, it is to provide the right human resources for the right work. That it is not just tables with numbers. It is to provide the right people for the right work and also at the right time. That means if any delay of some 6 months or 8 months, it is going to affect the ultimately the work of the organization, and it is going to get reflected ultimately in the balance sheet at the end of the financial year adversely. So it is to provide the right human resources for the right work at the right time. Next comes the topic objectives of HRP. We have enlisted 5 objectives here. This is also one more or less what we have just now spoken about what is HRP. The first one is assessing the manpower needs for future and making plans for recruitment and selection. We have to identify how many people are required in a particular role. So say for a period of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, like that. So immediate requirement is the first year. Making plans for, then we have to start with the recruitment process and selection. Next thing is not only that, assessing skill requirement in future. It is not with the number of people, it is what type of skills are required in future. That is also the function that is coming under HRP only. Anticipating surplus or shortage of staff. Sometimes surplus also will come. We should be able to identify and redeploy them. Shortage of staff is anyhow the manpower gap. Ensuring optimum use of human resources. There should not be excess staff. There should not be shortage of staff. Optimum use of human resources, optimum strength. That is very, very important because there only lies the productivity. So the next comes ensuring higher level of productivity. It is always desired. There is no end to it. So slowly we wanted to have more and more productivity. Productivity, say sales per employee, net profit after tax per employee, business per employee. Like that we always say with the figure is more and more year after year, we say that we are maintaining higher level of productivity. Process of HRP, the main topic in this particular unit. Process of HRP is of course depicted in a diagram here. It is nothing but a flow chart. Assessing human resources, demand forecasting, supply forecasting, matching the demand and supply, and finally having an action plan. Better in the examination, either you draw this flow chart or you draw the a similar flow chart based on the content we discuss, either this one or on your own. First topic, first part in process of HRP is analyzing the operational plans. Objectives and strategic plans of the organization are analyzed. That means when we wanted to know how many people in a particular role are required, first we should know what are the objectives of the organization and what are the strategic plans of the organization. What type of plans? The technology plan, the finance plan, the production plan, all these are to be analyzed. Based on that, we will have an idea of the related manpower requirement, and accordingly the HRP is to be prepared. So please understand that this is the basic step. This is the basic step in the process of HRP, or the first step in the process of HRP. Based on that, HR demand forecast has to happen. The demand is to be forecast. Once the demand is forecast, the existing strength, that means expected employee strength minus existing staff strength, that is leading to the manpower gap. Then how this manpower is to be filled in, that is comes, then it has to be matched with the supply forecast. In this way we have to basically understand. I think there is no difficulty in understanding at all. Demand forecasting has two approaches, the quantitative approach and qualitative approach. In the quantitative approach, we first discuss the trend analysis. It is very simple to understand. It is the most commonly used approach. It forecasts employment requirements on the basis of some organizational index. The appropriate business factor, say sales, we shall take, which is a very simple one. Instead of profit, etc., we take simply sales per employee. So say some standard is there, say sales per employee is some X. You may have some expectation that is the value of the X has to increase, good, but at the same time with increase in the sales, if you want to increase the employees, automatically there will be problems. It will have some in the long run negative impact on the functioning of the organization. Therefore, you cannot expect productivity to increase many times in a short span of time, many number of times in a short span of time. So, that means if the sales are increasing like anything, corresponding increase in the staff strength has to be made, employees are to be recruited. In this way, we have to understand productivity does not simply mean that the per employee sales has to increase like anything. It has to increase, but at the same time, if sales are increasing in a big way, the employees are also to be taken proportionately. So, the trend for the past 5 years sales per employee, trend for the past 5 years may be examined. Based on the trend, you can have some projection for the future. Accordingly, how many people are to be recruited based on our business projections for the future, that we will see in the illustration way forward. In this way, we have to calculate the HR demand by dividing this business factor by the productivity ratio. Project the HR demand to the target year. While working this, we can have a projection for the say second year, next year, subsequent year, like that, some 2 to 3 years. So that is a good way of planning. In this, another one is modeling technique. Modeling technique means earlier in our trend analysis, we have seen only one business index, that is sales we have taken. Instead of that, several mathematical models with the aid of computers are nowadays used. Example, optimization models, wherein so many factors are examined at the same time. So like interest rates, the gross national product, the disposable income and sales to predict the employment levels. So for that, it is not so easy to manually assess, but there are now several softwares available. They take all this data and examine the requirement of the manpower in proportion to the business projections of the company, how much business it is going to have as per their projections for the coming 3 years or 5 years, like that. So instead of simply working on sales per employee like that, it will take into consideration several factors. This is called say example optimization model. This is called modeling techniques. But this is not so easy, because only with the help of a software only one can do. Cost is involved. So simply we can simply understand that firms which are very small or in their initial years cannot do that. Only when the big when they can afford the cost involved, then only they can go for that, this modeling techniques. That is, new softwares are available nowadays. Softwares are available and affordable also, but it is in proportion to the what is called the total income levels of the company. So in this way, we have to understand the second one, that is modeling techniques. After that, quantitative approach, we have the qualitative approach. Qualitative approach, first one is expert forecast. Very simple. A senior person will say, so next year our sales are going to increase by 15%. For the trend is anyhow for the past few years it is 10%. We are expecting some changes. We are going to enter into new geographical area. We are going to expand in that area. So automatically our sales growth will be not just 10%, it will be 15%. So we need this many number of people. A senior person will be telling based on his own experience. Some 20 years experience, 25 years experience person will be telling that. It is a good judgment. It is a rational way of assessment. That is called expert forecast. The other quantitative approach is the Delphi technique. It attempts to decrease the subjectivity of forecast by involving a group of pre-selected individuals and seeking their judgments. That means instead of one individual telling his expectation, that means giving his forecast based on his experience, a group of individuals will be asked, so that whatever bias that is there or whatever subjectivity that is involved will be getting minimized. So in that way, based on the judgment of a group of individuals, that is a committee, that is what is called Delphi technique. This group decision making process requires, of course, coordination and cooperation. That is always expected in any group. In this way, we can understand the qualitative approaches and also the quantitative approaches. The trend analysis, the modeling technique, the expert forecast, the Delphi technique, both qualitative and quantitative. It is very important to stress that both the approaches complement each other. You cannot simply say that I go with qualitative. I go with quantitative. It is always suggested that a firm, an organization should adopt both the approaches in finally assessing their HR demand, um, so that they can go forward with the manpower gap and supply forecast. Supply forecasting. After demand forecasting, we have to see the supply forecasting. This supply analysis involves who, from where, how and when. When means, suppose the projection is for a period of 3 years. There is no need for recruiting all the people at one time. We can do it on an annual basis. Then who is to be recruited means the role expectation. So whether it is a manager position or a salesman, like that. Then comes the from where means whether it is say internal or external, and also the location, like that. How to get them? How to get them means if it is internal promotion or redeployment, and external means the recruitment. Recruitment also different types: notification or headhunting. Straight away engaging a HR consultancy firm, HR recruiting firm, and with them through them we can get the right persons. Next comes the two sources of supply. Here from the examination point of view, I can tell that sources of manpower was asked as a 5 marks question once in the previous exams. So two sources of supply we have to mention. One is A is internal sources, B is external sources. Internal sources means our own existing employees. Elevation: an assistant manager can be elevated to the position of manager, provided he is having the requisite experience, qualifications, and also the skill sets, and the performance assessment is found to be good. Not only the elevation, sometimes redeployment is also going to happen. Suppose somebody is working as a MIS person, working manually for many years, an MIS, but with the advent of several technological changes, where MIS is now very easy to have it in the computer. There are good number of softwares. Automatically some jobs involving MIS work will become redundant. Then those people can be redeployed in appropriate roles by giving some requisite training. So within the company they can be redeployed. In this way the supply can be had. External sources means from the outside the organization one can have it. Here also what is your expectation, everything we can see in more detail in subsequent units where job analysis is going to be discussed. After discussing this demand forecasting and supply forecasting, we can say what is the gap, demand and supply gap. Normally for many positions there may not be much gap, because in a country like India, not much gap will be there, people will be available in good number. But when certain skill sets are required and new technological changes resulting in something like areas like artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., some gap could be found for certain number of years. Supply may not be there in proportion to the demand. But for all practical purposes, we can say that the closer the gap, the better it is for the organization, that we expect that adequate supply is there in relation to the demand. As I just now said, in most of the cases, for a one position, nowadays even 100 people are also going to compete. So that type of supply is there, but it may not be there in certain sectors and also with certain skill sets. Now process of HRP is going to be explained with an illustration. In the 20 marks question, always we are asked to write the process of HRP with an illustration. So let us have this: XYZ retail outlet has an ambitious plan of increase in sales by 20% each year for a 3-year period. So when the sales are increasing by 20%, that is 100 is becoming 120, like that, it has an expectation of employee requirement also proportionately. So 100 will become 120, 120 will become 144, 144 will become 173. That is the sales increase. Corresponding employee strength is to be assessed. There are 100 employees, 70% working in marketing, 20% in administration, 10% in audit and accounts. That is 70 people are working in marketing, 20 people are working in administration, 10 in audit and accounts. With the projections for coming 3-year period based on this 20% increase in sales, we can say that for 2025-26 marketing people will require 84 people, administration 24, audit and accounts 12. We have shown only 20% increase. In the next year 26-27 marketing will need 101, administration 29, audit and accounts 14. In the subsequent year 27-28 marketing will require 121, administration 35, audit and accounts will require 17. How to assess the HR demand then? The expected number minus the existing manpower. That is, we are already having 100. That HR gap will come. In the year 25-26, the marketing will need 84 minus 70, 14. Administration will need 20 minus 24 minus 24. Audit and accounts will need 12 minus 10, 2. Total 20 people are required. 14 plus 4 plus 2. In the next year 26-27, marketing will need 101 minus 84, 17. Like that, administration 5, audit and accounts 2, total 24. In the next year 27-28, marketing will need 20, administration 6, audit and accounts 3, total 29. So first year 20, next year 24 and subsequent year 29, total manpower requirement is 73. That means in over and above the existing manpower of 100 employees at present. This is in proportion to the sales projection of 20% each year for a 3-year period. In this way, we can have the illustration. Here, one important point we have to highlight here. This is a trend analysis, a quantitative approach. We just now discussed that HRP should have both quantitative assessment, quantitative approach and qualitative approach. Both should complement each other. We cannot simply either rely on a qualitative approach and at the same time we cannot solely rely on this type of working. That is a trend analysis quantitative approach. Why? Because in audit and as an example, in audit and accounts there are 10 people are working. They are having good software. Very good software is already put in place. Then just because sales increased from say 100 lakhs to 120 lakhs, like that next year another 20%, next year another 20%, the number of people required in audit and accounts department need not be increased from existing 10 to 12, subsequent year 14 and in the next year 17. That type of increase need not be had. That means 7 people over a period of 3 years is not required, because they already a very good software is there for working in audit and accounts. So where is the need for more and more manpower? Maybe you may be requiring in the 3rd year 1 or 2 people, that is okay. But just because the sales are increasing by 20%, 10 has to become 12, 12 has to become 14, 14 has to become 17, that is not required. That is why we said that is called the quantitative approach, the expert forecast. A senior person having some 20 to 25 years of experience will be telling that no, that much people are required, not required. The existing manpower is sufficient. If necessary, we can see in the 3rd year, he may say. That type of quantitative, qualitative approaches complementing each other is desired in HRP process. That is what we would like to stress upon based on this illustration. I hope it is very clear to you. The problems in HRP process is another topic. There are 5 problems we have enlisted here from the examination point of view. They are inaccuracy, employee resistance, uncertainties, insufficient HRIS, time and expense. Inaccuracy means just now we have discussed 73 people are required, but we said that no, as per expert forecast that much is not required. So that means everything is not going to be foolproof. Now we cannot say that everything is not going to be foolproof, and the entire estimates based on certain projections may go wrong. So certain level of inaccuracy is going to happen, is going to be accepted rather. Second thing is the employee resistance. What happens is when we are very much concentrated on this particular employee productivity, our calculations will show that this many people are sufficient or just enough, that is called, we say, optimum manpower, unions representing the employees will definitely say that no, we need more manpower is required, there is a lot of exploitation is going on, work life balance is not being there, all those things will come, and employee resistance will be there for this type of HRP workings. Uncertainties because of the external environment changes, technological changes, the entire projections we make. Suppose we projected in our illustration 20% increase in sales. The sales may not increase at all by that level, 20% in the second year or third year. Only 10% or 15% may be there in the subsequent years. Or in the first year of projection itself, for various external factors, the sales may not have even 5% in a particular first year of our 3-year projection. So automatically what will happen is there is an uncertainty, and our process HR demand estimation may also go wrong. And one more thing is, as far as our country is concerned, the human resource information system HRIS is very much insufficient. For example, when we are talking of internal sources, when we are discussing about supply forecast, internal sources, we should have a very comprehensive database of our existing employees. That may not be found in many organizations. Maybe we have to evolve ourselves or improve ourselves over a period of time. But at present, in many organizations, the database of the employees is particularly reflecting their skill sets, exact skill sets, is not adequately found in our country. And the last one is the time and expense. Time and expense means here it is time taking, but of course we can afford that. But cost involved in this entire exercise, if it is very high, an organization, a small organization cannot afford that. Okay, one has to balance, of course, but we have to highlight it as one of the problems in HRP process. So from the examination point of view, we have discussed all the topics that were earlier identified in our video sessions regarding important questions for Unit 4. All the topics are covered in this particular video session. Thanks for watching. We shall meet in our next video presentation coming up in a few days, wherein we will discuss the next unit, Unit 5, covering the important questions already identified and also the suggested answers for them with thorough discussion. I request all the viewers to subscribe to the channel and also give their feedback in the comment section for betterment way forward. Once again, thank you one and all.